Alright guys, we've done really well this season in the Cup, made our way all the way through the final, got past some half-decent teams, Western Suburbs, Havelock North, and we've got, somehow, Auckland City in the final. Now, look, they were pretty lucky to come fourth in the Northern League. So, the Northern League's the worst league. We should be beating them quite comfortably, and some of you guys need a rest, so we're going to use our backup players here. Bit of a risk, but I believe in you. I believe in you, and I believe Auckland City are really bad. So let's just fresh them, get some money in here, and lift another Chatham Cup, boys.
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 160 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Kashmir Technical and the All Whites. Hope you're doing well, and come a day, we've got the Chatham Cup final here for 2039, and lo and behold, we take on Auckland City for the first time in quite a while in the States. So for the little bit as well as a couple more new signings here at Kashmir Tech, and a recap of what's been going on in between yesterday's fourth round and this final that we are about to play. Then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday, as I said, fourth round of this Chatham Cup, we took on Western Suburbs from the Central League. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, we have made our way through to this final. A quick look at that first, and we'll also recap what's been happening in the National League, both in the early stages of the Championship as well as how things did finish in the Southern, Central and the Northern Leagues. But the final is between us and Auckland City. As I said, the first time in quite a while we've taken these guys on, seeing as they didn't actually make their way into the Championship of the National League last season. There's what happened in the fourth round as we recap yesterday. Off the back of that, quarterfinals, Havelock North knocked out Nelson Suburbs there 4-1. We got past Christchurch United 5-0. It was the most impressive win in that round. Auckland City 2-0 over Tauranga City. And Manurewa, a little bit surprisingly, they got knocked out on penalties by Eastern Suburbs. But to be fair, both those teams are near the top of that Northern League. And that did set up in the semis us against Havelock North. That's the reason we didn't come back for that game, seeing it's already taken those guys on a couple of times this year, including in that Champions League final earlier in the week. And we picked up a 5-2 win in Auckland City, a little bit surprisingly, got past Eastern Suburbs 3-1. So that's how both teams have made their way through to this final, and in and around that, we have had the conclusion of the National League in terms of the qualifying leagues, and have just started off the National League Championship. First off, we'll start up with the Southern League. We had a perfect record as per usual, and we're joined by Christchurch United. They just did enough to get there over Nelson Suburbs by a point. Very similar records, but Christchurch United one more draw than Nelson Suburbs. That was the big difference maker. Got an extra point for that, and that's how they've qualified. And behind that, Dunedin Nomads, Coastal, Mosgiel, and Otago Uni with just the one win and 11 losses. They go down to the second tier here in the South Island. The Central League this year was won by Western Suburbs quite comfortably as well. 7 points over Havelock North, just 1 point further back to Wellington Olympic in that final qualifying spot. And then Napier City Rovers, the unlucky one there from the top four, who do miss out in the Central League and going up to the week one in the Northern League. Manurewa, champions of this, and by quite a big margin as well. 12 points over Western Springs, 4 points further back to Eastern Suburbs, and Auckland City did falter late on in that Northern League season with only 1 win in their last 5 games, 2 draws and 2 losses. But thankfully for them, Manukau United also got beaten on the final day of the season. So that did mean that they snuck in with that 4th qualifying spot, relegated Bay Olympic and Narua. Here, just going back to the Central League, and Napier Marist, they got relegated from that league. So that's how things did go in terms of qualifying for the National League Championship. Just going back here to our schedule, there's that game we played in yesterday's episode. You can see pretty comfy wins for the most part, especially up until the start of that National League Championship. Our first game, actually the closest one so far. We conceded early there to Christchurch United. Bubby and Muller got them underway, but thankfully only a few minutes later, Walid Khalid drew one back, and then a second half penalty did mean we escaped there with a 2-1 win. That one of our closest games so far this season, alongside our Southern League clash against that same team. So Christchurch United actually might be quite strong in this National League Championship based on that, because the other games have been a bit more comfy. 3-0 over the Phoenix Reserves, and then 2-0 over Wellington Olympics. We have taken on a couple of Central League opposition in our last couple of games prior to this one, but thankfully we have picked up 3 wins from 3, the only team to do so far in that National League Championship, and are on top 2 points clear of Western Suburbs, 1 point further back for the Phoenix Reserves and Western Springs, and already the other 6 teams might be in a bit of trouble. They are 4 points outside of the top 2 currently, so they're going to need a bit of a turnaround here to make their way into the final, but currently we're looking quite good for that to be one of the early games next week here on the channel. And Auckland City, our opposition in this upcoming game, only on 2 points. As you might have been able to tell from that form before, it hasn't been too good recently. Draws against Western Suburbs and Havelock North, as well as a loss to Western Springs. They're not doing too well there. Auckland City, certainly not as big a team as they used to be in the saves. Hopefully we can beat them, otherwise that would be pretty embarrassing. Still one of the better players will be Stuart Ukic, their captain, but these days 32 years old, still a big boy, no doubt quite good and threatening in the air, but really they're not the same team they were about 4 or 5 years ago in the save. The key players Nozzy and Purusnaf there, who is a central midfielder who can be a bit more attacking as well, but to be fair, those technical attributes don't look too good as mentals and physicals. A little bit better, but nothing too special there. They've got a hot prospect who is a local lad, but not a heck of a lot of potential. And the vice captain, that is Akis Milkudas. He's an Australian, does actually look quite good mentally and not too bad physically for a centre-back, but whether they're using him as that or a left-back, not too sure. The man formerly of AIS and then Auckland United. So those are the key players there for Auckland City. In terms of us though, we've done a few more transfers off the back of yesterday's episode, considering that during that stage had a lot of players here on trial, and we're trying to boost our stocks in terms of under 20 players to help us out for the rest of the season here at Kashmir Tech. And you can see what's been going on since then. So we did sign Zajic and Young going into yesterday's episode. Since then, a couple more signings. To be fair, most of them are a bit more relevant for the under 20s. Carlos Muniz, he's a right winger come striker who is currently living in our B team, but is currently just sitting on the verge of losing that under 20 status. So if you need him for the rest of the year, he might get promoted to the first team. Also, Rafael Lalo, he's a deep lying playmaker out of France, 19 years old. Have actually just called him up to the first team recently because there's some under 23 competitions going on during the course of this Chatham Cup final. So it does mean we were a bit light on our under 20 quota going in to this game. He actually will start over Sam Clark. Also coming in, Finn Brown. This is a player I've wanted to sign for quite a while. He previously was committed to playing for the Czech Republic, but is actually partially a New Zealander, so does count as a local player. Already been able to talk him into committing to New Zealand if we need him as a third or fourth choice left winger or central attacking midfielder here. He'll be second choice in behind Jamie Young in central attacking midfield. So it does mean that finally can actually get rid of someone like Lorenzo Janssen when his contract expires at the end of the season. Not that he's doing a bad job, but this guy a bit younger and might be someone who can play for the All Whites in the future, seeing as Janssen still thinks he will represent the Australians at some point, even though it hasn't quite happened yet. But he, a pretty decent player. I do think he's a bit better suited to central attacking midfield instead of the wing, because his pace isn't quite as good as some stats that do suit that central role a bit more. So Finn Brown comes in as a proper squad player here for the first team, and also a couple more under 20 options. Kostas Karapidis is an under 20 goalkeeper out of Greece and does look pretty good with 4.5 star potential. So he might be someone who could get some game time in the future, especially next year if we're able to convince David Cifuentes to become a New Zealander. Then we might ship him off and give some under 20 options a chance here in the first team at Kashmir Tech, because it's a very easy job for us there. In goal for one of our under 20 players usually. Don't have too many shots coming in from other teams here in New Zealand. Also, we signed Andrew Thomas, who's a striker come right winger come central attacking midfielder out of America. Haven't quite got a face for him yet. I'll sort that out over the weekend. But formerly of Atlanta United, has just turned 18 and he's got a little bit of potential. So also could be someone if there's interest in one of our New Zealand strikers who we do call up to the first team just to fill one of those under 20 spots. So a few signings there off the back of yesterday's episode. To be fair, not too many that make their way into our usual first choice 11 here at Kashmir Tech, but they do at the moment because we've got some players away on international duty with the New Zealand under 23s qualifying for the Olympics. That's actually happening in this window. I thought it was the last window. That was something else. Not too sure what was going on there. It might have been a warm-up tournament or something like the Pacific Games. But Peter Zajic, he's away with that under 23 squad, as is Harrison Debenham, and that does affect their ability to put some under 20 players out on the field, as does the fact that quite a few of our other players are on a heavy workload going into this game. Also, Lorenzo Janssen injured, and I forgot to mention this yesterday, but Marcus Vinicius is injured, and that is a big one. He's done his Achilles tendon and is out for up to 3 months. So he's been missing for quite a while now. That means that unusually Corona currently actually starting there, but thankfully Khaled did just qualify as a local before yesterday's episode, so we could afford to make that move before then. We were usually having to drop Corona in favour of Vinicius. That timing was quite good, but there you can see our team going into this final. Not first choice at all. Lots of first team players are a bit tired of the last couple of games that we have played in that National League Championship. But our under 20 options here, as I said, Rafael Lalo comes in for Sam Clark, just because there's not much else we've got to work with some of those players who are unavailable and on a heavy workload. And also, Shaun Hall and goal. We've been doing that quite a bit recently with the National League because we're usually quite dominant in those games. Don't need that good a goalkeeper, so we're going to keep him in between sticks here for this final. Hopefully does a good job, otherwise David Cifuentes can rightfully feel a little bit filthy, but he's a player who came for our youth and take a couple of seasons ago, a decent amount of potential also in terms of the national team. So probably a good idea that we do give him a little bit of game time. Hopefully he continues to improve and might be on the verge of making the All Whites when we do the simming forward off the back of the next World Cup, which we do make our way to. Also coming in for this game, Andy Roberts with no Debenham. Hosafa is a ball-playing defender instead of the usual option. Our usual under-20 option in Greg Martinez, to be fair, recently actually been using him as a backup to Marco Corona as a ball-playing midfielder with that injury to Vinicius. We've got PA in there for Sousa on a heavy workload. As I said, Lalo for Clark, and also both our wingers have been switched on heavy workloads. So Mazinho and Azorio are out there, as well as Craig Johnston for Prince Camalo. So it's not really an ideal starting 11 for a cup final, but Auckland City have laid in this save, as I said, haven't been too good, especially in the early stages of the National League Championships. Hopefully we can show off our squad depth here and pick up a win and get some much needed money in the bank here at Kashmir Tech by picking up a win in the Chatham Cup final over Auckland City. And here are the team sheets for this season's Chatham Cup final. First up, the hosts here in Auckland City. As you can see, not too good a form recently. They are going with a 4-3-3. Interesting, the Ukic only on the bench there, their captain. That's a bit interesting. There's our team. 8 changes to the usual best 11. Our regular players in there. Young in the cam, Corona in ball-wing midfielder, as well as Anderson at centre-back. But the rest, not really first choice. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get on in this game, but hopefully against the City team, which has been battling of late in the save, we can do a good job. An early highlight here in favour of City, trying to make their way out from the back, do it fancily, but to be fair, not too sure they got the talent to do that, and they give the ball away nice and early. There's Lalo on the ball. To be fair, I think I've turned down the notch here of one too many for the speed in this game. Have been going at proper full-on pace since you were last here. Get through games as quick as possible in these next couple of seasons. But nice ball there from Azorio for Johnston, who actually, based on a tribute, should be a bit better than Prince Camalo. I think we mentioned that after signing him here at Kashmir Tech, but a really good save there from Sai in goal for Auckland City. Unfortunately, can't do much off the back of the subsequent corner. Corona claims it. That will be the highlight done, but early stages, still 0-0, and now we'll just up that tempo a little bit in terms of the replays that we are seeing, and we have a throw in the air. Can't quite find Johnston, I think that was at the far post, and Owen actually starts to get Auckland City going here on the counter-attack. They try and play a ball in behind there for Strivers, but PA will cut that out. Now Lalo plays that one to Corona, definitely the more experienced player here at Kashmir Tech. Thanks to the little pass there from Jamie Young back to Lalo. and then he goes on retreat back to Lalo again. Anderson to Corona, lets that ball roll for a bit before changing it out to the right-hand side. Roberts starts to make his way forward. The Australian puts that one into the mixer. They all gang up on Jamie Young, but Craig Johnston will poke that one home, and we take an early lead here at the RTA. They're still there at the arena named after their famous former manager, but Andy Roberts there made his way nicely down the right-hand side off the back of that nice little ball roll from Corona, which did get us going on that right-hand side. Roberts finds Johnston in the middle of the box. We take a 1-0 lead at the 10-minute mark. Now, it's taken a little while for us to get next highlight in this game, coming up now to the half-hour mark, and we do get the ball back there. Auckland City did try and briefly clear their lines. Hosafa plays that one forward there to Roberts. Good assist there for that first goal. Goes back to Hosafa, and now Lalo, who so far is doing a decent job, especially in place of a very good international player with Sam Clark. The only reason he doesn't start more often for us with the All Whites is because Michael Cornelis Beale, a bit of a freak, definitely best player we've had come for a youth intake so far in the save, even if it was back at AFC Auckland. But we are just getting pushed back here a little bit, back into our own half, but thankfully are keeping hold of the ball. Lalo plays that forward to Young, but again, go back into our half, albeit only briefly. Roberts there. That's a nice ball over the top for Mazinho. Squares it. It's a very similar goal to what we scored before, but this time no one to gang up on. Johnston just got in behind. That makes it 2-0. Run the half-hour mark, so maybe these rotation players are going to show Auckland City their B teams better than their first teamers, but Johnston looking good so far, albeit some easy chances in front of goal. He puts himself on a hat-trick and makes it 2-0. And we just made our way into the last 5 minutes here of this first half. In the corner, Mazinho puts this one in there near post, and Craig Johnston leaps like a salmon, bangs it away top left corner to complete a first half hat-trick, and that could be a key factor here in us picking up another Chatham Cup. No stopping that one from Sai. Really good near post routine from us there. For our striker, completes his hat-trick. Mazinho on a yellow card. Have got him easing off tackles, but he's playing really well, so don't think we'll take him off here at halftime like we usually do. But that's a really good first half. 6 shots, 6 on target, high XG, pretty much matching what we've done in terms of goal scoring, so no changes needed. Hopefully can kick away a bit more in the second half and put a hurting on Auckland City. And it's only taken a couple of minutes here into the second half for the first time. Another corner here. Again, we go near post, and again, Craig Johnston will rise like a salmon, put that one home. This time, heads into the ground to get past Sai instead of into that top corner. He's now got all 4 goals in this final. In fact, to be fair, that one actually just comes off the fists of Sai. Not quite big enough, but Craig Johnston having a blinder here, looking for that starting spot maybe over Prince Camalo. Roberts off the back of that goes down to Red Hart, has been having a really good game, but we'll take him off for Sergio Arce, who, to be fair, usually plays for us as a snapback. We'll see how he gets on here in the last half hour or so of this game. Off the back of that, we do have a free kick here, which PA will take, looking for that top left corner. Anderson gets to it, but for some reason doesn't actually take that shot properly. It kind of goes there away from goal instead of at the target, but that's really the first good chance that we've blown this game. Our first shot not on target. Now 4-0 up off the back of that down the other end here for a free kick to Auckland City, but thankfully going to tidy it out quite well there through Corona. Down our right hand side we find Arce, fresh legs of the bench up to Mazinho, and now Lalo plays that forward to Arce back on the ball, just sizing up here what to do. Does go backwards there to Hosafa back. It is familiar home of that ball playing defender, as I said recently, been doing a job as the backup ball in midfielder with no Vinicius. Now that goes back there to Azorio, squares that one for Sergio Arce. Maybe he should be a right back, because that is a pretty good finish there for a usual centre back. Lets off there the shotgun celebration. Not too sure if that's too appropriate, but Young here, little back flick there to Azorio. A couple of good touches in this game, flair-wise, from Young and there. Arce, they sag off him, but to be fair, I would too. Not a renowned goal scorer with his feet, but that's the first goal in this game from a player who's not Craig Johnston. That makes it 5-0. Now both our defensive midfielders down to red hearts. We can't take off Lalo because we have no other under 20 options, so it does mean Sam Clark will come on, but for Marco Corona, but this game is well under control. 5-0 with 20 minutes left. And only a few minutes off the back of that fifth goal and sub. Now we've got a corner here again, looking near post this time. Can't quite find someone, but thankfully do keep hold of the ball. Hosafa here has the edge of the box. He finds Arce. Another finish. This time I think that one might have taken a bit of a deflection, but finds its way into the back of the net. And our right back, usually a centre back, hasn't had too much football for us this season, but gets himself on a hat trick. He hits this one again with his right foot, a bit of a deflection inside, to be fair. Got a good touch on that as well, but can't keep it out of the back of the net. That makes it 6-0. Efficiency in this game for us has been really good. We've scored with half our shots overall, and only one of them hasn't been on target. So we're looking really dangerous here anytime we do get on the attack with 15 minutes left. Another highlight here, and we've definitely got a chance here. Numbers on the counter attack. We find Osorio there on the left hand side, puts it in for Craig Johnston. That'll make it, I think, 5 goals now in this final forum. He is having an absolute storm. Auckland City must be wondering what they've done wrong to be coming up against him in this sort of form. Our backup striker doing a brilliant job there. Osorio will pick up an assist. So no Khaled, no Otto, no problems for us here at Kashmir Tech. 7-0 with 10 minutes left in this final, and now Jamie Young goes down to a red heart. Tristan Turner will come on for him with our final sub, but this one as good as done with a 7-0 lead. And just making our way into the last couple of minutes of this game, this has been a complete cakewalk here, even though most of these players are backups. So Auckland City nowhere near our level these days, it's fair to say, here at Kashmir Tech, and to be for the National League Championship table. It does also suggest that, but Craig Johnston, first half hat-trick, got 2 more in the second half, as did Sergio Arce off the bench for Andy Roberts, who, to be fair, did a pretty good game in the first hour of that one, but Arce decided to score goals instead of set them up. Both players there at right back putting out very good performances, but to be fair, most players who are on the field for us there in an absolute blinder. Not too sure if Shaun had too much to do there, our young goalkeeper, who was filling one of those under-20 slots, but that is an absolute thrashing in this year's Chatham Cup final. We put a rugby score there on Auckland City. Oh, how sad indeed. And we pick it up yet again here at Kashmir Technical off the back of a very easy 7-0 win. So a dominant win for us there in the 2039 Chatham Cup final in the save, 7-0 over Auckland City. I know they're not as good as they used to be in the save, but still away from home and with quite a few rotation players getting a crack. That is a very impressive performance. Most importantly, we get a fair bit of money for picking up that win, and we need it because continually our finances here at Kashmir Tech do get in the mud. Hopefully the next Club World Cup might help that, but to be fair, by that stage, I'll pretty much have 1 foot out the door of this place. I won't care too much. Hopefully, though, it might help set up the club for some success once I do leave, and hopefully they'll be able to keep some of these key players who will, by that stage, be on the verge of qualifying for the All Whites. The board's very happy. Another Chatham Cup. That now makes it 14 overall. We'll just see how many times in a row that is and how many times in the save. That makes it 8 times in a row and 11 in the save. Just that 1 year, of course, back in 2031, where Western Suburbs knocked us out around that 4th round, where we beat them in yesterday's episode. And going back to the inbox, everyone's happy with us. And of course, Johnston gets man of the match for that ridiculous output of 5 goals. Ridiculous stuff there from our backup striker, but that will do it for today's episode. Very comfy win there over Auckland City in the Chatham Cup final. If you enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, start of next week, I know I said we probably wouldn't come back and do this window, but I've changed my mind because the next window off the back of this, the teams we play are quite bad. So we're going to come back and do the Argentina-Aussie window yet again, but this time in 2039 in September. The reason, there was one more coming up in November, but I couldn't find many good teams to take on. Instead, we're going to take on Japan, who are in 30th, should be beating them, and Honduras, they're around the 50 mark. Unfortunately, couldn't find any top 20 opposition to take on in that window, so I think that's the one we'll skip over in the latter part here of this New Zealand season. Instead, focus on that Argentina-Aussie one. Probably a window there with some of our toughest opposition that we'll take on before next year we get stuck into stuff like the OFC Nations Cup. So we'll come back start of next week, play that window, and off the back of that, probably just skip forward the National League final, which we should be making, and hopefully by next Wednesday we can get stuck in to 2040 in the save. But until the start of next week, for the RGs and the Aussies, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.